Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another video. After coming off a weekend of absolute anarchy, we have 4 different DBS Fests to go over. If you guys want to know more about what I'm talking about, go watch yesterday's video. But yes, we have 4 events to go over, 4 different DBS Fests, and the top cut info for all those. We'll talk about them, talk about the meta, all that good stuff you guys are used to. But anyways, if you're new here, make sure to subscribe, hit that bell so you don't miss a video. And if you guys want to help support the channel, there are many ways to do so down in the description. But today, if you're looking for custom sleeves, playmats, any TCG accessories like that, use my link in the description to yourplaymat.com. Not only will I get you 10% off your order, but their stuff is super high quality, guys. I absolutely love my crossword art sleeves. Number one thing about them is they don't peel. That's a super high selling point for me. But anyways, again, 10% off your order with link in the description. Let's get started. All right, so firstly, we're talking about DBS Fest Texas. Before this, though, I should definitely give shout out to Android because all the info I have for this video comes from his video from yesterday. So yeah, shout out to Android from Stage 0. Really appreciate you gathering all the info for this. So we'll be recapping that. I'll give my thoughts and opinions on the state of the meta. So yeah, for DBS Fest Texas, this event was a mess. There's no real sugarcoating it, but we do have the top 8. I think it was over 200 players. I don't have the exact number. But I'm pretty sure it didn't quite reach the cap, but I believe it was over 200 players. So, all right, for this top 8, we have 3 King Piccolo also taking the W. Now, I'll be honest, this is not super surprising, and I'll just say, too, that we're not going to go into, like, a deck-by-deck slideshow type of deal like we normally do, because we do have 4 events to cover, so I wanted to just prep you guys for that. But, yeah, again, I'm not super surprised about this, because going off of last week's data, Piccolo was very popular and placed very highly, but besides that, I do still think it's the most broken deck in this current format because it just does so much for free. Like, off this list alone, and really out of any other deck you can consider in this meta, King Piccolo just does the most for free. It is quite possibly the best aggro deck if you want to classify it as an aggro deck. It's so hard to classify aggro decks nowadays because there was so much done to eliminate like those turn 2 crazy aggro decks, where now if you're playing a quote-unquote aggro deck, you're looking at like turn 3 or turn 4 to go for game, and you honestly probably have like pretty good defensive potential. So a lot of these decks are more like defensive mid-range, but like you have a fair amount of aggro potential, so that's more so what I'm talking about. But yeah, King Piccolo, super strong, facing off in the finals against Gogeta Xeno. So if you're going with what I'm saying before, this is sort of like an aggro mirror, right? And these are the 2 decks that probably do the most for the least cost. Gogeta Xeno doesn't have quite as much free play as King Piccolo does, but it's got a fair amount through Overwhelm and some other means, free play unisons as well, and it just does a lot for very cheap. Like 1 energy, Gogeta Thwarting Dark Empire is a super busted card. I should also mention, I probably should mention at the beginning, but this was a sideboarded best of 1 type of event. I'm not sure if the other DBS Fests that were hosted online were also doing sideboard best of 1, so if you guys know about that and you played in those regions, let me know down in the comments. I'm definitely curious. But yeah, this was a sideboarded best of 1 format. So this top cut actually looks pretty clean. And what I mean by clean is there's not really actually any outliers here. There's no deck here that you wouldn't really expect to top. And that could be due to the fact that, you know, players had sideboards at their disposal for this event. So there was no like tricky kind of cheesy strategy that was able to get in there. But anyways, moving on, we have 1 yellow Trunks and 1 Sin Shenron representing your yellow. As far as like last weekend's concerned, this seems to be very standard. You're gonna probably see like 1 to 2 yellow Trunks in top cut and 1 to 2 Sin Shenron top cut. Neither of these decks have gone the distance yet to win an event. Maybe they will, maybe they won't, who knows. I think both are rather hateable in the side deck, maybe more so Sin Shenron than yellow Trunks, but I think the thing with yellow Trunks is it's a very consistent deck. It does relatively strong things, but again, it's a step down from Icarus for sure. It doesn't do anything too flashy, which is what I think is kind of holding it back. So yellow seems to be in a much more fair state compared to, you know, the last several formats where it's been a little bit overpowered. But anyways, then we have a red blue Soul Striker. So Soul Striker definitely expected. The main thing you're looking at with Soul Striker, is it going to be a red blue variant? Is it going to be a blue yellow variant or a mono blue variant? This time in particular was a blue red variant. I'm assuming revolving around a rival of you know, cards like Tentacle Assault Cooler and whatnot. And then we do have 1 U7 Goku. Again, very consistent. Actually had a very big showing in one of the events last weekend and no showing in the other event from the previous weekend. But here we do have 1 slot, so that adds to its consistency a little bit. Then we have DBS Fest UK. So again, not sure if it was sideboard best of one. I'm fairly certain it was a webcam event, but I'm not 100% sure once again. So here we have the top 8. We have Android Mill actually taking another first place. This is kind of wild. Yeah, so Android 18 Mill managed to take one of the online regionals last weekend, and it takes DBS Fest UK this weekend. Again, I'm just assuming that a lot of these decks were not prepared for a strategy like this. And if there's not a lot of blue and yellow in the meta, this deck can actually thrive pretty well because the other colors don't necessarily have the interaction to stop the Frieza Mill combo. The other things you're leaning on, if you're playing like red or black, for example, you're hoping to just kill them before they get to their combo, right? If you're playing green, well, unfortunately, you're playing the worst color in the meta at this current point, and they can actually stop your Frieza Charismatic Villain with Godsling Technique Trunks, so that's kind of rough. But yeah, Android 18 takes another W. This is actually kind of wild. Then we have 2 Gogeta Xeno taking the most slots in this particular top 8, which is crazy again. Gogeta Xeno, super strong, not surprised. Android 16 actually showing a fair amount of consistency because I believe it snagged 1 top cut slot each in both of last weekend's events. So seeing some consistency here is pretty cool. 1 Sin, of course, we're used to it. Blue Bojack, this is incredibly surprising. Yeah, would have never thought in a million years that I would see a Blue Bojack topping anytime soon, but it almost makes sense in a way because it's a blue deck that thrives off the combo step. And if there are a lot of, low to the ground aggro decks attacking with 15Ks, maybe even some 20Ks, a deck like Blue Bojack does sort of make sense to me. Goku Black Wish, I would actually love to see this deck profile because, again, I think there's a lot of potential for this strategy, but I think it's just so hard to build. So I'm very curious to see what this player's build included that kind of, helped him see some success. Next up, Blue Baby. This deck has been errated. A lot of people think it's unplayable, but one of my teammates in particular thinks this deck is super, super good. And I'll be honest, we all hate playing against it because it is just that annoying. Even with the errata, the deck is still the same at its core. Just a floodgate type of deck that can stall infinitely and then hopefully just rely on some blue boss monster to clean up. So if you're not playing the interactions for those floodgates, like certain counterplays or cards like Koitsukai, this deck can definitely get under your skin and, give you a hard time. But anyways, 2 more events to go over. Real quick though, a word from today's video's sponsor. Yo, Dragon Ballers, real quick, I need to let you guys know about 2 events that are coming up soon, being hosted by PPG. All the info will be down in the description, but we have the Dragon Ball Super Card Game Fest from March 26th to the 27th. This is going to be the first ever event where they are trying out the sideboarded best of 1 format. Besides that, it'll just be a celebration of the Dragon Ball Super Card Game, so you're not going to want to miss it. The other one is for organized play through the Pro Play Tour. We have the regional qualifier April 2nd in Kentucky, shots to the Midwest, so you're definitely not going to want to miss that. Shout out to PPG because they run awesome tournaments, but also besides that, this is the thing I've been concerned about in the past where these tournaments just don't get enough advertisement. So shout out to PPG for doing more and putting in more work to advertise these events. I hope to see you guys there. Let's get back into the video. All right, guys, shout out to PPG. Anyways, next up we have DBS Fest Nottingham. So again, not sure if this is a webcam event. Let me know in the comments below if you know that. But this was super, super red heavy, right? 2 red Jiren taking this event, which is kind of wild. I do think Jiren is a solid red deck, but like coming off of last format, we had a bunch of rogue red decks, right? We had Jiren, we had Red Broly, we had all the U7 decks, before Goku came out. And those were all, fair enough, like decent red decks that could do some decent aggro things. But now I would definitely say that U7 Goku and King Piccolo are the top 2 dogs for red. But still, red Jiren being strong in rogue, not bad. 2 managed to take top cut here, which is kind of wild. 2 King Piccolo, definitely used to it. Blue Baby, just talked about it, same thoughts here. U7 Goku showing consistency, Yellow Trunks as well. Cooler Mill actually making a repeat top as well, because if you remember, it did manage to take 1 top cut slot from last weekend. But I will say though, these topping, these top cuts so far have been very, very light on Mill, which I love to see. I think Mill might be my most hated strategy to go against besides Invoker. But yeah, very, very light on the Mill. So maybe these were sideboard best of ones where players were able to sideboard hate for Mill. I'm not sure once again. But yeah, definitely something I noticed is a lot less Mill in these top cuts. And then finally, we have DBS Fest Asia. We have Green Broly BR taking first place here. This is wild. So Green Broly BR seems to be a popular and strong strategy in Asia. If you guys weren't aware, this deck actually managed to make top 4 of Worlds, piloted by, I think it was the national champion of Asia from that season. And yeah, the deck is really strong. It's hand control, and now Cell Xeno's gone, so maybe this is the next actual best step for hand control. since the de facto best green leader was banned. So maybe that'll be a step up. Maybe more people will kind of catch on to that. Then we have 2 Trunks Xeno. So very, very surprising that we haven't seen Trunks Xeno top a single event until now. And yeah, I mean, it always just seemed like it was outclassed by Gogeta Xeno, but these obviously must have been like slightly slower paced decks, more like mid-range black decks. So it'd be very interesting to see the list here. And then we have a blue yellow Soul Striker. So Soul Striker just, you know, again, making itself known to be consistent. Very, very good deck in this current format. But of course, if you choose to play it, you're going to have to deal with a lot of those blue silver bullets. And that's going to wrap up the events we're talking about today. You guys probably noticed that I didn't talk about the Latin American Fest. Honestly, I didn't really feel comfortable talking about it because there was a really, really big cheating situation that was we were all made aware of for that event. So didn't feel comfortable talking about it, as well as some incorrect rulings that led to some different results that I don't really know the full story about, so I'm not going to get into it, but that's just why I didn't really feel comfortable fully covering it. Plus, I never actually found a full list of the top 16, so it just is what it is. But anyways, guys, let me know in the comments below what you think about this current meta. I think we're actually in a really good spot. I'm very, very happy with a lot of decks that are doing well right now. A lot of them are, you know, they give the opponent a fair amount of interaction. Aggro's not nearly as impressive as it's been in the past, although it's still seeming to be quite good. But yeah, let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.